Welcome to my channel, and let's have a look at my March finished works. In March, I finally returned to Creative Heaven book by Martin Noble. It's about fairy tales. For a long time I had only one finished picture here. I did it maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, totally with color pencils. So this time I also decided to start with color. But here I also tried Derwent color softs. And what can I say? This time I felt that color was probably too dry for this paper, so it wasn't bad, even if now maybe I would change some colors, especially on the columns. But I told myself that it has to be an illustration to children's books, so you're allowed to do it in more colorful way. The biggest disappointment was that when I did this smoke and when I did stars, after some time, all white pigment from gouache paint and from Posca marker, they turn color from white into pink. That's because for the background I used Star Joy pencil, very pleasant color, but something with the pigment that now I have this pink smoke. That's okay, maybe I will cover it with another layer of acrylic paint, maybe it will be better. But those pink stars, it's funny. What I love here is Jean. I think that he looks quite magnificent with this wine red color and with a lot of gold jewelry. So it was fun and it was a good return to the book. But for the next project here, I decided to use Prismacolor pencils. Actually, for a long time I wanted to do this page, but somehow I ended with a Red Riding Hood. Here I decided to think a little bit out of my traditional color palette. So usually I don't use such dark colors for the table, for the bed clothes. So I decided that maybe grandma has unusual taste in decorating house. So she has pink walls, at least floor I try to do in traditional way, adding this wooden pattern. Of course I tried to keep red colors only for the Red Riding Hood. Now I think that maybe at least for the dress I could use some other color, but now she has this vibrant red spot here. It's not a bad thing, but well. And I deliberately decided that Wolf will look interesting in pink clothes. So, well, I didn't expect a lot from it. And now I find a little bit difficult to color with Martin Noble pictures. Sometimes it's a little bit too many lines. Sometimes I would prefer a little bit more realistic way of picture, but I definitely intend to proceed with this book. I just have to decide what to do with the lines. As I said, for many pictures, those lines, they are distracting, especially on the background. But maybe for the next pictures, I will try to combine markers with pencils. I am pleased with both works, but it's not they are definitely not the best. And honestly, this first project somehow I liked more. Maybe because here I used a little bit more paint to mask lines, so it looks more in painting way, comparing these two, which are so-so. In Matchstick Mouse, in March, I did 3 works, 2 in summer, and I decided that they are 2 parts of the story. Early in the morning, our sweet company planted seeds. I decided to show that it's morning by doing this pink and lavender sky. It was a little bit too boring, this page, so in the end I added those tiny flowers. I think that in such a way it looks more tender. Because traditional green leaves, grey and brown ground, Nothing very colorful, so I decided that at least flowers can add something interesting, some nice touch to the central part. And after some time they have already first plants, and of course they need to water them. I especially love this watering can, which was constructed by mouse from the wooden planks. So sweet, and I love that they do everything together. So again we have this nice sweet worm helping. This time we have the simple daytime. And in springtime I did a page which I wanted to do for a long time, but I didn't know how to do a guinea pig. Guinea pig is one of my favorite animals in the world, together with capybara and amazing Australian animals. So I wasn't able to select which color for I want to do, so I postponed and postponed this book, and finally I did it. I think that this ginger and white patches on her fur made her quite realistic, and I do love that she's almost smiling. They definitely have fun together, so I think that it was worth to wait until I was totally sure how to do fur. I decided that for this book I don't need to work very carefully on each area of the body to draw each individual hair, so I just worked on shading each of the areas and on balance of color, so to say. And yeah, here I used paint. I used a little bit of beige, a little bit of orange brown, so I tried to make it more fluffy, more furry, so and more realistic. I did another page in book by John Green. Despite its very cheap price and very average quality, because it's book for children printed on two sides on average paper, I absolutely love this book and I wish they printed it in normal quality. I already mentioned it several times. So in March I did this one. Queen Mary, she is such an unhappy person in history. Mostly we know her as a Bloody Mary, but well, if you dig deeper into the history, into the story of her unhappy life from her childhood, from her young years, you can understand better the character, how she turned into such person. So I think that it's quite instructive book when you can remember famous moments from the English history. And I tried to make her at least magnificent in her beautiful dress. I added this golden color, golden embroidery everywhere. I think that she looks quite nice. The biggest problem was what to do with the huge window. I decided that I will make this impression like sun is coming through the window, and the whole left side of her dress, of her body, it's a little bit highlighted by this sunshine. And of course I had to use a lot of dark colors because I think that it was traditional for the fabrics during the Tudor times, a lot of dark fabric. So I think that black shading with only color accents here, a lot of black pencil plus dark black raspberry, a lot of black color plus dark green, it helped me to create this atmosphere. Well, very nice, and I enjoyed every moment of it. Yes, maybe paper isn't great for blending, and I also experimented with various pencil brands. Surprisingly, Derwent color softs here are quite helpful, and Prismacolors, they always work well. The only thing you need to remember, not press very hard on the paper if you still want to keep picture here. Yeah, when I finished it, I realized that felt tip pen which I used for her crown, it's slightly visible here, but I think that when I do more vibrant color for the sky, I can mask this line, and I will remember for the next time that I can't use felty pens. Usually my felty pens from Hochus, they never bleed through, but unfortunately not on this paper. But apart from this technical problem, I'm very pleased with the color palette of it. I think that because of the dark color, it really looks like an old oil painting. In Le Jean Nouveau, I planned to color 2 pictures, unfortunately had time only for one, so Lohengrin will have to wait, but at least I colored Lady of the Lake. And well, somehow I expected it to be a very quick coloring, but I totally forgot how intricate and how detailed are pictures by Herr Leonhardt. From the beginning I knew that I want to use a lot of blue colors and blue-green colors because she's Lady of the Lake. It's first reason, and second reason because I wanted her to have this ginger hair, and ginger always looks nice with all shades of blue, blue-green and green. But when I started to color, first I had technical difficulty. I wanted to color with Arteza because I absolutely love Arteza on this paper. With Arteza set I already did many dragons in Dragon Nouveau book, and I hope that Arteza also will help me here, especially because Arteza has very nice blue-green shades. But selected color Agent Blue started to broke completely, constantly when I tried to sharpen it. So somewhere in the middle of my coloring I had to switch into polychromos, much more reliable pencils, and I was lucky that I did almost the whole area of the background when my Agent Blue totally died. It's a pity that I had such unfortunate problem with the pencil and I can't purchase it open stock. Anyway, apart from Arteza, I also used Castle Art pastel tints because of their light colors, which I used for those lines which I turned into some lake plants. I was inspired, of course, by this irises and other plants, and for this pastel background here. I'm usually very confused with all those lines. These lines I will do later when all 3 pictures here will be finished. I will think what to do with these lines, how to connect pictures, and with the rest of those lines. But this delicate green really helped me. Finally, for her dress, I decided that if I already used so many sets, why not to try Derwent Color Softs? And yes, Derwent Color Softs worked on her dress. Again, a little bit of struggle with the lines. For me, there were too many of them. Very thick lines. Yes, they represented folds on the fabric, but I think that it looks better without them. The easiest part somehow was those swans. I think that it was a good idea to color them in different color. In the beginning I thought about 2 white swans, but now I think that it looks more dramatic. White and black, it shows duality of the character because she did some good things, she did some bad things in the legends, so it's not completely positive or negative character from the legends, and I think that such duality in color of swans also helps to show this part of the story. Well, despite some problems and some complicated thoughts how to do all these ornaments, I definitely hope that I will be able to return to this book because I already can imagine all colors for Lohengrin. For this one, somehow I want to use polychromos. It's difficult to explain why. Maybe because I know that for the wood or for the water, I know already all my color combos. Some nice cobalt turquoise, some nice earth green colors for those pine trees. So I look at it and I can imagine colors and pencil color combos quite easy. I just need to find time to finish it. So if I return to this book, Lohengrin will be my next project. A frog's tail. Actually, in March I did several pictures with frogs, and this lovely company. Definitely was a lot of fun to do. Well, here I used my favorite method of doing the bigger part of the background with markers. Even if paper is thin, I found that my Ohuhu markers blend on this paper quite acceptably. At least I have a lesser amount of problems with blending comparing to Witch's book, for example. So quick work with markers on those branches, leaves, flowers. And when I did it, I was afraid that I selected too bright color for flowers. They attracted all the attention, and those lovely creatures which we can find here, other participants of the orchestra, they were lost. Only those big golden instruments, they helped a little bit, but poor mouse or the owl, I was afraid that they would be totally lost. But when I started to do the central part, I enjoyed it a lot. Here I decided to do this very delicate pastel color background. Everything here I did with polychromos. Surprisingly, polychromos blends so well on this paper. It's a pleasure, honestly. Especially when you color tiny elements like clothes or instruments here, so you constantly need a very sharp tip of pencil, and polychromos, they are very helpful. I did frog first, and then I was confused what color to select for the coat because I didn't want to use blue. I already used it on the background. So this different shade of green, I think that it was a good choice. They look in the same time elegant and quite colorful. So I think that it was quite a successful thing. The only thing I would change now, it's color of flowers. Maybe white with pink center would be a little bit more delicate, a little bit less vibrant, and it would be good. But, well, in this book you are allowed to color with a very bright color palette. Now let's have a look at Teresa Goodrich. Of course, in March I wanted to color something to celebrate arrival of spring, but Spring book by Teresa, it isn't my favorite. But in Wish You Were Here there was a perfect spring picture, so in March I traveled to Netherlands. I think that here we have two famous things from Netherlands, the windmill and those tulips. Well, mostly it was a work with huge amount of green colors. I tried again to mask the thickest black lines because unfortunately this book and book about kitchen, they both have very thick black lines, and the biggest amount of efforts goes not into coloring but into masking those lines, especially on landscapes. It's a little bit frustrating. I wasn't able to decide if we have a little bit of a waterfall here. I decided that some running water on the stones, it will make the whole picture a little bit more colorful and interesting. I added a little bit of flowers in bloom here, and to this tree I decided that huge area of green without flowers, it's too boring. Well, nothing very special, but pleasant picture. I had a lot of fun selecting colors for the tulips. I think that it's lovely, and it's +1 in Wish You Were Here. Also, I continue my idea. I follow my idea to finish this country kitchen charm one day, and I follow my idea of doing kitchens in different colors. And in March, my kitchen was in blue. Here, a relatively simple picture, but I really liked composition of it, this interesting curtain and those Provence style paintings on the wall. I decided to play with various shades of blue for the color of the wall, for the color of those tiles. I think that in the end it worked well, especially with all flowers behind the window. Well, I never know how to color properly animals in Teresa Goodrich book, but I think that this cat with white and ginger, it looks very similar to all my other cats, but at least it doesn't look ugly. I try to make it more colorful by adding different colors for the herbs here in the flower pot. Simple, quick, but nice, and again +1. Mostly here I enjoyed doing wooden surface and that steel surface probably. It was fun to do all the highlights to show that through the window quite bright sunshine is coming inside of the kitchen. On each of these pages I try to learn something new, either textures or how to show light properly. Yeah, I already did many colorful kitchens. I hope that one day I will finish it. I finally returned to Symphony of Cute Animals. Honestly, I wanted to finish page which I started with watercolors. No, it's still unfinished. Only the underpaint which I did very quickly. But then I realized that it's actually time to color something for Easter. I checked all my books and unfortunately the only available Easter picture, it was this one. I don't know why I have such a lack of Easter pictures. If I still color next year, maybe I will have to print something. I don't know what I will do. But I had this one and I decided again to do watercolor background. It was not the wisest idea because I did it and I immediately realized that even if it matches nicely some colors on the left side, it's too active. I thought that this lavender watercolor would be a nice start, and especially because I knew that I want to use more yellowish color for the Easter eggshell, but yeah, it was too active. After that I sprinkled it with pink, I sprinkled it with white, so I tried to make it not so bright and not so active. In the end I think that it worked, but now when I look at it, I think that maybe very light pastel blue, something like this, would create more delicate and more elegant atmosphere here, because here I would say that it's too much, too colorful. But apart from this not lucky choice of the color for the background, the rest of it I do love. I was a little bit afraid that with such yellow eggshell and yellow chickens they would be slightly messed up, but famous eggshell pencil and canary yellow here helped me to make this difference. I absolutely enjoyed doing those flowers, many of them. Well, probably the biggest problem I had with the pencils, but I think that in the end, because they are hidden behind, they are not messing up. Well, lovely, not my best work here, because I am still disappointed in my color choice here. Usually I don't do such mistakes, but at least I have something for Easter and flowers are nice. And I finally decided to finish this elegant frog. I started it either in October or in November, so last year I did only the background and I had problems with filming. I filmed during the night time under electric light and my camera, it totally hates those cream goldenrod colors. Video was so bad that I didn't want to proceed. But then I realized that poor Mr. Frog doesn't deserve to be abandoned. I imagined that such an elegant frog, I actually called him Mr. Croaky. Maybe he is a frog living in the pond of Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. You remember Pride and Prejudice, and I think that they have similar taste in clothes. So that's the story which I imagined behind this picture. I think that he looks quite lovely. Again, maybe for the flowers I had to use more white color like I did the central one. But apart from it, I am pleased that I finished it and how I did shading on the face, on the coat here. I tried to use different hues of green on the clover leaves and on the frog skin, so they won't mess up. And I'm glad that I didn't abandon it. Now I need just to find time to finish this one, and I won't have any unfinished pictures. Abandoned works in progress here. I still struggle with blending, but Prismacolors are at least not so bad. And this page still waits for my experiment if I can color with polychromos on top of watercolor underpaint. And finally, my two most time-consuming works of March, where I put a lot of efforts. First in Ivy, I finally found strength to do this spread. I always liked it because I love to color metals, steel and gold, and here it's not boring to color all these various objects which are hanging, but of course there was question what to do with the background. And also, for me it's always a challenge how to unite picture with the text. Fortunately, recently I started to use my very limited stash of distress inks. Here, because I selected beige color for the background, I was lucky that I have matching color of distress inks to add these very delicate stars with the stencil. So I decided to add shadow behind each of the hanging object. And with my very limited drawing skills, even such simple tasks like repeating the shape of the main object, it was a little bit difficult. But, well, mostly I managed to do it. Only in a couple of areas I decided to abandon this idea. Like a little bit messy here, maybe a little bit messy here, especially this not very good shaped shadow behind the crown, but at least those golden objects, they look not bad. I realized that maybe I need to practice more how to do realistic gemstones and crystals, but it looks pleasant. For the background I used Arctic pencils because I totally didn't want to spend for this book my precious Prismacolor pencils, but Arctics I already tested here. I used them for the blue background here, so I knew that they blend and lay down on this paper not bad, especially when you blend close colors, so various shades of cream, beige like I did here. Yes, they were a little bit waxy on the upper part when I applied too many layers, but in the end it was okay. Most of all, I'm proud that it looks very well balanced with the text, and this idea of stars really looks nice. So my only wish is that I had more stencils, because all my pictures, they are decorated with those stars and with the same color of inks. But nevertheless, I'm proud that I did another spread. Probably my most time-consuming work was in Kerberazzanes, but despite the size, this coloring was very pleasant because I really liked my idea and I wanted to put it on paper before I forget about it or something would distract me. So I'm not a huge fan of such duplicate images like we have in this book. For me, it's a nightmare to color the same image 2 times, so I totally don't understand the latest marketing idea of Kerberazzanes publisher to publish book with such spreads or to duplicate one-sided images 2 times. For me, it's totally not appealing idea. So when I decided that for such spreads, I need to find some creative idea how to color 2 pages in different way. My first idea was to do this battle between winter and spring, quite appropriate for the season. I wanted to start it in February and then to continue in March. As usual, didn't have time, but at least in March I managed to do it. Not only the background with blue and green color helped me to show this idea of battle between winter and spring. I also tried to make a difference in everything, starting from the color of the castle walls, called gray here, and much warmer cream and beige colors here. Also color of the fur on the deers. This one is much more traditional with orange brown colors, and this one I tried to color more like a reindeer with this bright white on the neck. I also decided that for the sake of the picture I will color leaves also in blue color. The only green I added, it was a jade green prisma, which is actually more gray rather than green. And here, of course, a variety of vibrant green colors. Background I mostly did with Prismacolor pencils. Their shades, they are much easier to blend for this light background. But the main image for castles and all this grass I did with polychromos. I love how polychromos blend on the paper in my edition, and even if I'm disappointed that I can't use watercolor here and such huge pictures I have to do with pencils, but at least my polychromos works quite well here, and combined with Prismacolors I can do even such huge spreads. Of course, the left side is sprinkled with a lot of white gouache to create this atmosphere of falling snow. My most dreading part was how to do this transition from the wintry blue background into more spring clear sky here. So powder blue, pale sage from Prismas, they helped me to blend in this area. Well, of course I wasn't very patient when I did background, you know that I much more prefer to color some objects rather than background, so maybe blending here it wasn't perfect, but I care much more about the impression from the picture, from the creativity of my idea rather than some technical imperfections. Apart from pencils, of course I also used paint to mask the thickest lines, but I do love line art in Kirby books. His line on fur is quite helpful, and line on other objects it's quite delicate, so on many areas I decided that I won't be masking any lines. To emphasize the idea of spring, I also added some colorful accents like flowers here, and I think that it was final nice touch to this spread. I already know which one will be my next project here. It will be this dinosaur, because I still need to hide all those stains which I have from the previous spread, but I'm also tempted to do this one. But here I would love to use gouache for the background, and I'm not sure in my skills. I need to think a little bit more careful about which colors to use here. But that's my two next ideas for this book. Or maybe I will finally switch to Mythic World. Apart from these finished pictures, I have one work in progress which I started just a day ago, and I started Nelko Neko. I was tempted to start from the very beginning, from the spring, maybe from something smaller, but then I looked at this beauty and I totally fall in love with this happy cat family, with the father probably, and with... I'm a huge lover of pizza, so of course when I saw this page, I realized that yes, I want it to be my first picture here. Paper reminds me about my Korean book, Cat Coloring Therapy. Here I mostly used Prismacolors. I hadn't tested yet watercolors or polychromos, but Prismacolors, I do love how they work here. It's a huge pleasure. I hope that I will manage to finish it soon and that it will be a beautiful page. Usually I don't start from the best picture in the book, but here all pictures are equally lovely. I love everything from the beginning until the end, so I simply selected picture where it was easier to select colors. Well, I think that for the month, which was extremely mentally difficult, challenging when each morning you get up, you read news about new bombings, or either you hide it the whole night because of the bombing during the night. So each time you pick up yourself from pieces and you need to start and to do something productive during the day, to go to work, to stay positive. Well, I think that for such months I had quite nice results. So I hope that you also enjoyed my videos. Thank you for all your supportive comments, and I will see you very soon in my new videos.